Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the football and pro wrestling podcast we bring you each and every week. Make sure you smash that subscribe and bell notification button, drop a like on the video, share the content, check out all our socials, including TikTok, and make sure you're also checking out the audio versions of our show on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Joining me tonight for Thursday Tier Talk, as always, we're going to have plenty to talk about tonight. My co-host, the Dazzler. How are we, my friend?
Well, good, pal. How are you? How's the week been?
It was all right until this evening, but however.
Listen, there's no point in talking about that to me. You're not going to get any sympathy here, let's be honest.
Dare I say we were worse?
I don't know about that. Listen, as you know, I saw little or nothing of the United game, and I saw absolutely nothing of the Liverpool game. I probably saw the last. I think I tuned in, it was 3-2 to United, and it was 75 minutes gone. And I was like, right, 3-2 up, down to 10 men. Can you hold on? And then you're like, wow, when did we put the under nines on? Like, this is fucking hardcore. This is unbelievable.
It's been some week for football, hasn't it? With Spurs playing the high line with 9 men. United with an absolute crapper of a show last night in Copenhagen. And in fairness, the ref didn't do us any favours either, in fairness, at times. And then us tonight, I don't know what we were doing tonight. We were the hit and hope merchants tonight. So disjointed, absolutely crap. Made Toulouse look like second prime Napoli or something like that. I don't know. We were rubbish.
What did you say? Prime?
Yeah. Prime.
Nice, Niall. I like that one.
Nice little segue. I should be going Will, shouldn't I? Will Energy. That's what I should be doing.
Do you know the one thing I will say? And I know we got an awful lot of stick for it, but I absolutely fucking loved Spurs and Postecoglou on Monday night. I loved it. I just love his unwillingness to do what other people wanted him to do. You know, he has an idea of how he wants things done. And obviously, you know, in everyone else's head, you go down to 10 men, sit in, go and do what you have to do, get out with a draw, move on. Your man's like, no, absolutely not. And then you go down to 9 men, and you know, people are like, right, drop in, go to a 5 and a 3 or whatever you have to do, and just get something out of it. And again, he's just like, no, absolutely not. I just loved it. I really did. I don't know. I know a lot of people were very critical of Spurs and Postecoglou, but he definitely won me over. I have to be honest. He won me over as much in the defeat as he has in some of their wins. Now, they've been playing great football, Spurs, you know. But I think when the philosophy, I think, you know, if you've got something and you know it works, don't just because someone else thinks you need to change it. Like, you know, I love that he backed himself and he backed his team. I really, really do.
I don't know. I don't like that as a trait in a manager when things go a certain way in a game and you haven't got the ability to adjust to try and get something home in it. And that's my thing about it. I don't think there's no way at 9 men you should be playing a high line like that and all that kind of stuff. And look, he's been a breath of fresh air in the league and stuff like that with his approach. And me, more than anyone, being a Liverpool fan, have more reason to dislike him than anyone at times. But it's just, you know, I like the way he turned around and the way he kind of handled the decisions and stuff like that and all. But I think when you have an opportunity to maybe sit in, you know, calm it down a little bit and do things like that, and then maybe try and, you know, nick something on the counter. To me, that's a much cleverer way of playing than playing a high line. And let's be honest, the 4-1 didn't flatter them because it could have been 8 or 9-1. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but also don't forget that's what Chelsea would have expected them to do. So as much as you know, Chelsea wasted a lot of opportunities, which we know they did, there was probably an element to it where the lads were going, how are we so far ahead of this line here? You know what I mean? Because obviously the timing of the line breaks and being so far clear of defenders, they were like, we must be offside here. There was a little bit of head fucking there as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but you can do that for a few minutes if you want to set a scene and then revert back into what you need to do to confuse them. That's all well and good as a strategy. But if you stick to that and you're getting pasted, and they were getting pasted, and let's be honest, we know all season how blunt Chelsea have been. So if you put up 2 banks of 4, or you put up whatever it is, the chances are Chelsea probably would not have scored because they've been horrific. You're coughing up a hat-trick to Nicholas Jackson. That must be the most embarrassing thing under the world. He's horrific. Horrific.
I don't think he's that bad. I know he's
man,
missed.
come on,
No,
watch
no,
him all save.
no.
Look at the chances he's missed.
No, but don't forget, we watched him in some
Look
of
at
the early
chances
games.
He even missed the other night.
I
Even
know,
the other night against Nine.
but we know lots of goal scorers who miss lots of chances. Like, if you look at the start of the season, we spoke about it. We even spoke about it because we have it here in our group chats. Even the start of the season, the boy looked electric, and we were like, "Wow, this kid, right?" So he's had a dip in form. Obviously, it coincides with the injury and coming out of the team. He's coming back. He's a little bit off the pace. I don't necessarily think he's a really, really bad footballer. I got to be honest with you. I think he's a guy who's proven himself in the league. Internationally picks up goals, and I think in the Premier League he's going to score goals. Now, whether he's clinical enough to be our number 9, that's a different story. Does he end up maybe being that guy who comes off the bench, and gives you impact when you've kind of sapped the life out of teams? Maybe he's not the guy who plays the 70 minutes, and puts the work in and does all of that. But he might be the guy that comes off the bench and picks the bones of teams. And if that's what he is, that's what he is. And you need guys like that as well.
Yeah, but at the moment, he's the focal point. At the moment,
he is, but that's to do with their recruitment than anything else.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the other night, if I thought Spurs would have sat back with 2 banks of 4 and would have played that low block, I think they would have had a lot of joy against Chelsea, I think, the other night. Now, it's all hypothetical and stuff like that. And we can
Absolutely.
Say maybes. But I don't think if you played the 2 banks of 4 low block, I don't think you would have coughed up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 goals.
You definitely don't cough up the 4 they conceded plus the other 4 or 5 chances.
And especially at the top end in those top 5 or 6 places, you have to be conscious as well of your goal difference. You can't just down tills and get thumped 5, 6, 7-0 or whatever it is. You can't allow that to happen because goal difference can become pivotal. So you have to be so
it could.
careful.
But I think the other thing is with Postecoglou, he looked at it and went, this is a game in isolation. Because generally, week to week, I ain't going to have fucking 2 men walked off the pitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then look what evolved after that. So it may not be a game in isolation, and we will get into the Premier League preview, and we will be talking about a tough away trip to Wolves at lunchtime on Saturday, which isn't going to be any foregone conclusion.
Whether they beat Chelsea or didn't beat Chelsea, though, that was still going to be a tough game going to Wolves in the early kickoff. So
yeah, but not if you have who you have. Not who you have up till now, who you've been playing, stuff like that. Yeah, it will be difficult. But now look who's gone off the radar. That's a totally different kettle of fish. We're staring there on the barrel now of, potentially Eric Dyer being in central defence, your man Højbjerg or whatever it is being in central defence potentially, or that young 17-year-old potentially being in central defence. You know what I mean? That's not a recipe.
No, it's not. But again, it's not going to be the long-term plan, and it's they're papering over cracks for the minute because obviously they need to get through the suspensions and stuff like that. But don't forget, Wolves, especially without the boy Neto, aren't a very, very attacking side. So, it may not be missed as much. It may be more to do with if it was the upper end of the pitch where they couldn't score. You know what I mean?
As is in, evening lads, what's the crack? How's the tosh, bro? It's all good. We're there. We're doing a little thing for Movember for men's mental health. So there you go. So
I was admiring that when I came on. I was thinking, look at this.
Very different. I was accused last night on the wrestling show of a kind of a Rick Rude, Jake the Snake, and I brought up Outlaw Ron Bass, of course, which is pretty cool and stuff like that. So yeah, so there you go. So Acers is going with Raymond Rougeau. Niall looks like Tom Selleck. Sterling is still garbage. We're going to be talking about it. I can't get back into it. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Michael Jackson and Ketia should have had about 8 goals on Monday. Absolutely. Terrible. That was Bobby Dazzler of a match United played in. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure was, Joanne.
The Ange love affair in the media is sick. Get back to when he wins something at Spurs. Love it. Arsenal in full effect tonight.
I was going to say, yeah, the heel heat is coming heavy already, isn't it?
Don't worry, Pep and City will destroy Chelsea on Sunday. I think that could be one of those weird games that sends you off into the international break, doesn't it? Not dissimilar to probably ourselves and Brentford as well on Sunday, but we will get into it. Right, let's start our Prem preview. as we do. Let's start. Wolves versus Tottenham there. Top billing. There we go.
Top billing straight out the gate. Listen, this is a tough game for both teams. And we need to set the scene here because obviously Wolves lost last week to Sheffield United, which is a game they would have looked at and had that little asterisk beside to say, we're going in here and we're going to win this game and pick up points, which is going to further us up that league position. So that didn't happen. So Wolves really, really need a result here. But you're getting Spurs off the back of that defeat. I'll be interested to see, obviously it's Spurs' first defeat of the season. I'll be interested to see what the bounce back is. I think that's going to be really, really important. And, you know, with 11 on the pitch, whether it's Dyer or whether it's Hallberg or whoever it is, I think with 11 on the pitch, Spurs win this. I got to be honest. I think Wolves is a tough place to go. I think the half-12 kickoff, the horrible kickoff, we all know that. But I think Spurs will have enough here. I really do. I think they've been playing great attacking football all season until, again, the 9 men. And even at that, they tried. But I'm going to go Spurs here. I'm going to go Spurs 2-1.
I'm going to go a draw. I think I have to say Romero obviously out and Mickey van de Ven out with that hamstring now. Is mad. They've been huge for them. Huge.
Got to be honest.
And then the doubt over James Madison as well. Huge.
I got to be honest. Excuse me, something stuck in my throat. I don't necessarily think I would have said this at the start of the season, but looking at what's missing for Spurs, I think the boy Van de Ven is the standout. Like, he has been colossal. We know how good Romero is, and he showed it in a much weaker Spurs team that he had ability and aptitude and stuff like that. So I thought, you know, he's a very good player. But the boy Van de Ven for me has been an absolute revelation for a number of reasons. His defending, you know, the way he comes out of the defence with the ball at his feet, and he's very, very technical and stuff like that. He's quick. He's just powerful, strong. So much to like about this kid. Great recruitment from Spurs. Really great recruitment from Spurs, getting this lad in the door for a decent fee as well.
Absolutely. And was linked to a number of clubs as well, and they still got the job done. So
really, really big.
Joanna's reckoning 2-0 to Wolves. Actually saying I think injuries will hunt Spurs. Yeah, absolutely. Morris is in. Vincent Company and just understudy to be pumped by Kai Havertz. Sackable offence.
Jesus.
Could be the case. Arsenal versus Burnley.
Yeah, this is Arsenal, isn't it? Big result needed after, you know, last weekend. Obviously, I had Newcastle in my bet last weekend, so I did fancy Newcastle. I can't see too many teams getting anything out of St. James's Park with the way things are going at the minute and with the way, you know, the crowd are up for it and stuff like that, and Newcastle themselves. So I wasn't surprised to see Newcastle beat Arsenal. But I think this is back to Arsenal being Arsenal this week. I'll be looking for a couple of goals here and to really, you know, get things back on track. I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal here.
If Arsenal do go 4-0, any conversation on a change in Company in the international break, or do you reckon they stay there?
They stay there. They have to. I don't think there's the quality out there to replace him, because I do genuinely think he knows what he's doing. He's obviously did a job at Anderlecht, did a job at Burnley. I think that just the step up to the Premier League is huge. And we talked about the recruitment side of things and obviously the budget, not having the money to spend to bring the players in who you would want, I think is very difficult. But I would say a little bit of patience with Company could pay massive dividends for Burnley. And this is difficult to do as a fan, because we saw this in the kind of early noughties with Bolton and Sam Allardyce, where they dropped down, kept him, came back up, dropped down, kept him, came back up, and eventually he had worked out the formula. And then he was able to turn Bolton into a very, very, you know, into a mid-table team who could cause upsets and beat teams on any given day and stuff like that. I think if I'm Burnley, that's what I'd be looking at. I'd be looking to build something under Vincent Company, because I think the style is the right kind of style to play. I think making Turf Moor a little more hostile for for visiting teams would be huge. And I think then obviously being able to do something with the budget and the playing squad would help the situation as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Palace versus Everton.
Yeah, so like obviously Everton been really speaking of going from Burnley to Everton. Obviously Sean Dyche massively. He's synonymous with Burnley and what he did there, but the guy's doing a great job at Everton. Really, really is. Has shored Everton up quite a lot at the back. You know, has them kind of playing not necessarily a really good brand of football, but he has them competitive. They're very quick. They're well drilled. You know, he's got the boys playing on the wings there, Dwight McNeil and the boy Jack Harrison, trying to feed Calvert-Lewin. You've the Corey in behind him. And then the lads in the middle, obviously, bringing the energy. The boy Onana, who we're a big fan of, and the lad James Garner and stuff like that. So lots of things to like at Everton. Palace, obviously, coming back off a good win last weekend away at Burnley. I think it says more about Burnley necessarily than Palace, because I'm actually going for a little bit of an upset here. I think Everton are going to get something out of this. I think they're a little more potent than Palace are. And I also think they're a little bit better at the back than Palace. So I'm actually going Everton 2-1 here, which is probably a shock because we know Selhurst Park isn't an easy place to go to. But I just have a little feeling about Everton this weekend.
Yeah, for me, it kind of stinks a bit of a draw, doesn't it? It could be a fairly damn squid.
100%. Yeah, 100%. That wouldn't shock me. I just have a little feeling Palace sometimes can go from that good result and bounce to that bad result because, you know, they look at the league table and they're a couple of places higher and safety is getting easier and closer, and all of a sudden the foot comes off the gas, you don't get the performance and you're rolled over in this league, you know?
Absolutely. Morris is in 4 points out of 33. No way they should stick with him. He's talking about company there. Morris is ruthless when it comes to these things, as you know.
Oh, I know.
Ian's in 4-2 Liverpool versus Brentford. I don't know where you're going to find 4 goals for Liverpool at the moment. We're as blunt as be damned. Joanna's gone for Crystal Palace. 2-1 to Everton. Yeah, it's very similar to yourself.
That's exactly what I've gone for.
Jesus is going for a draw. That's what I'm thinking, the draw. Warren's in, Saka out, and Keddy out, Jesus out, and Arteta down. Arteta thinks I think Arsenal might struggle. They're not going to struggle against Burnley, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Not against Burnley. Like
did Saka not score last night?
He did, but I think he was taken off, didn't he? Does this? I think it's this ongoing ankle issue. Remember, we spoke about this Achilles thing for a few weeks.
That's right.
And I think they need to be really, really careful because if that goes, he'll be gone for the season, and that's the problem. So I think he's out, but I think Arteta said either after the game or he was being interviewed today or something that it might be just a knock and he should be okay. Now I'm not too sure. I haven't got that.
And listen, let's be honest. If he's 50% fit, Arteta plays him because that's what he has been doing in general.
Acers is predicting Sean will score any time against United. Wouldn't surprise us. It does happen. Let's move on then. Man United versus Luton.
Yeah, listen, I thought, first of all, Luton were superb last weekend. Absolutely. Really, really superb. And we have to give them their flowers there. It was they were a little bit unlucky to, you know, not unlucky, but I suppose after the performance they put in, they probably felt a little bit aggrieved. Now, obviously, Liverpool created chances as well and should have been probably 1 or 2 up again. Luton scored. But they fought hard, you know, Luton. They really did. And they put their best foot forward.
Resolute.
Very resolute. I got to say, the more I see our boy Chidozie, the more you just think, what a kid this kid is. You know, he's Mr. Consistency, is he? Every week, it's just that 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10. His work rate's phenomenal. He covers so much ground. What he does for the team in defence and in attack, just really, really good from an Irish point of view. And he'll cause Man United trouble this weekend. I firmly believe that. And there are lads there, Carlton Morris and some of the other lads, who will cause us trouble because we're not good at the back, as you know. But I think at Old Trafford, this is just that kind of a game that we tend to get over the line. It's the Brentford from a couple of weeks ago, you know. It's the Sheffield United. It's those games. It's the results against the teams in the bottom half of the table that's kind of kept us anywhere near that top 5 maybe. So I think United will do this, but I don't think it'll be pretty, and I think it'll be 2-1 to United.
Joanne's going for a 1-0 to Luton. Acers is going for a 4 or 5-1 to United. Darren will be all over that. That's all right, Morris and Warren. Thoughts about Stephen Kenny replacing? Yeah, he's linked to
the Lincoln job.
Lincoln job, isn't he? That's Morris was sending it to me last night. He was quite bewildered about it. He was wondering what the hell is
bewildered
going on.
/ delighted.
I think he was more bewildered than delighted. I was rejoicing. I was saying, say a few Hail Marys, make sure it happens. But who knows? Morris in will Mount play. Does Mount play on Saturday?
Yeah, I think he probably does. I think he probably no. Hang on. Rashford is on a European ban.
Yeah.
So Rashford will play. I think he'll probably go in with something similar to what started the other night, obviously other than Johnny Evans. He might also play Reguilon at left back because the law was very poor. But again, playing on the wrong side. So you'll probably see Wan-Bissaka, Reguilon, Maguire +1. And then you'll go in with McTominay maybe and Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund and Fernandes. So Mount, Warren, I don't think starts.
Warren, thoughts on Stephen Kenny replacing Ten Hag? I don't think so.
Listen, I'm happy with Ten Hag at the minute. I personally am looking to replace him. I think there's so many other factors right now at the club with the uncertainty with the takeover and stuff like that. I think it's a very difficult situation for a lot of people there. So I wouldn't be necessarily pointing the finger just yet.
Daz wants to know, straight red last night for you. What do you think?
Still haven't seen it.
Oh, have you not?
No, I said to you, I didn't get home till about 75 minutes gone. Now, what I did see was 2 still pictures. And I don't know whether you've seen this or not. I might try and show it to you. It was in another WhatsApp group that I'm in. And it was 2 stills of Rashford and Endo.
Yeah.
One was a red and one wasn't, apparently.
I was shocked. I was shocked tonight, actually. I was. And then it's so inconsistent.
I didn't see either tackle, just so people. I'm not trying to rope the kid Endo.
I think they were pretty much similar. The only difference is I think there was more space between Rashford's foot and the ball when he went in for the tackle. I think it was just a little bit wider. So it kind of, with the Rashford one, you could have looked at it as if it didn't look as if he played the ball. Now, we know he's not a dirty player, but it looked as if he didn't play the ball, that he did, your man. That was my initial instinct on it. And if that's the case, then I think it's a red. But look, you've seen the red on Curtis Jones. We've seen the red on loads of different players at this age. Casemiro, Malo Gusto. We've seen loads of them at this stage. It's getting to a stage now. You're going to have momentum when you go in for a tackle like that to try and protect the ball. And I think there's just a lack of football understanding at that level to understand what's going on in the moment. And they just see it as being, like, not every tackle is out to break someone's leg.
Absolutely not.
And it's just
absolutely not. And the one thing I would say is, and I think this is important, the players also, though, are going to have to stop giving referees opportunities. Like, if I look at, say, Jones and Gusto, yeah, they don't necessarily have to make those tackles in the manner that they do. By leaving their feet like that, they give the referee an opportunity to make a decision wrong. Stay on your feet, close the space, jockey them rather than going in like that. And that's what's going to happen in the game, I think. Players are just going to have to be told, stay on your feet at all costs. If you go off your feet, the likelihood is you're going to get red. So
that's kind of the instruction they've been given anyway, isn't it? I mean, that's been the,
well, I don't know, not when you see how frequent it's happening. you know, because if I'm in somebody's ear and telling them don't tackle, just jockey, don't tackle, just jockey, and they're putting in tackles like them, and they're giving the guy an opportunity to
But
send
a
them
lot of
off,
them, you
that's
know the
not
way.
like,
But you know the way in the past, a lot of them have been coming in from the side, so it doesn't look reckless like you're trying to fucking do someone. A lot of them these days, you see, they're coming in right from the front. So the natural
and
momentum
that's,
is if someone plants their leg, you're gonna break someone's leg. It's eventually gonna
but
happen.
that's my point. You don't need
Mm.
to make the tackle. You just need to close the
Yeah.
space. It
Yeah,
has to
like
come from
like
coaches as well.
I don't mind. I don't mind guys leaving to make a tackle, like the way Wan-Bissaka might make a last ditch tackle where he wraps his leg around it to win the ball and stuff like that. I have a major problem if a guy goes in 2-footed front onto a guy. You
Yeah,
know, that's where my problem is. So
I suppose one is like one is a more controlled situation. Like maybe when Wan-Bissaka is going back like that, he's going back to play on the ball, but he's doing it with his foot on the ground, basically. You know, whereas when it's even Rashford or Jones or Gusto or whoever it is, like you say, when they go in and play onto the ball and their feet are up, and that's the huge issue is when the feet are off the ground, you're gone.
yeah,
I don't think so. From what I've heard, this isn't true.
okay.
And the only reason apparently it won't happen Monday is it's Bobby Charlton's funeral.
Yeah, that's look. There's so much
So
nonsense going around on that takeover bit. I wouldn't believe
no,
anything.
no,
People are
it's
sitting in a boardroom getting pictures taken. You know what I mean? It's just
apparently everything's been finalised.
yeah.
There's a date being given for a takeover, as in from the footballing side of things. So Ratcliffe knows he's coming in to start on a certain date, and there's an announcement being put into play. From what I hear, Wednesday is D-Day.
Did you
Because
see the
obviously,
interview? Did you see the interview from your man as a train? The guy in Bloomberg the other day.
No.
He's one of the major shareholders of let's call them the normal shares outside of the Glazers.
Okay.
And I think he holds something like, did I read 29 or 30% of all the other shares, if you like.
Okay.
So he's the biggest shareholder outside of the Glazer family, if you
right.
like. Okay. He did an interview the other day saying nothing is agreed yet. Apparently, he did that.
No.
And that was on Tuesday. I read that, and it came out through Bloomberg as well. And I think the issue there was it sounds as if the deal that they're trying to do, all roads lead to the Glazers, and nothing is going to the shareholders of the other whatever percentage it is. I think the Glazers own is a 67 or something like that, or 69 or something like that.
They've 70 something, I think.
Yeah, and the other 30% or whatever it is floating on Wall Street, if you like.
From what I hear, Wednesday's D-Day. Monday's Bobby Charlton's funeral. You know, you don't announce it that day or maybe the day after off the back of it. So you give it a day to breathe. And then Wednesday, while the international break is on, they wanted to happen during the international break. So, you know, a lot of guys will be away at internationals. There'll be a lot less of a kind of a frenzy around the place because it's going to be big news anyway. But so that guys can come in and start jobs before players come back and be in roles and stuff like that. So that's what I hear. Wednesday is D-Day. So yeah, it's not, listen, it's a step in the right direction for United. It might not be the step we want. It might not be the step we had hoped for. But I think if you're taking the football and operations off the Glazers and off the Glazers men, I think that's a huge step forward for me. Huge.
So has the committee situation gone away where Joel was going to sit on that committee for the football and decisions with Ratcliffe?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Because that's what I heard that was the latest that I had heard in terms of any detail.
Yeah, it's gonna be Radcliffe, and it's gonna be David Brailsford, who was obviously team principal at Sky Cycling and stuff like that. I don't know whether you're big into cycling or anything, but Brailsford was a bit of a genius in the cycling world until things unravelled slightly towards the end, and there was some issues around doping. Now, it's cycling. Everybody in cycling was doping.
Some issues around doping.
You know, you're like, as my dad said to me once, wouldn't it be better off the Olympic final if we just let everyone take the gear and just see who's the quickest on it, and then we wouldn't have to police.
That's what Bill Burr says about That's what Bill Burr says about Lance Armstrong when they were going out about it. They were saying, "Sure, didn't the top 23 guys in the Tour de France? They all got hit with doping charges. So it's just his guy." So he said, "Just our guy was a better doper than those guys, but they were all at it."
Right. So they were all at it, but I mean, Brailsford was synonymous with small gains, very, very technologically driven, and was always looking where he could pick up 1 or 2% for Team Sky and stuff like that. Put a really good team together, won a number of Tour de France's and stuff like that, and some of the other big races. So, like, this guy knows what he's doing in elite sport. He's very aware. He's an astute kind of guy. I'm probably looking more forward to him coming in than Radcliffe, to be honest with you. But I do, understand that Radcliffe coming in means we get to look past, the conversation about the Glazers all the time. And it puts the focus onto certain areas and allows other people to work on roles and stuff like that. And that's important, I think, for us right now.
Yeah, well, he'll become the new target. And if things don't go well, or if things do go well, he'll be celebrated for what goes well, or he'll become the new shield for the Glazers if things don't go so well. So that's just the way it goes in business, stuff like that. And plus, a lot of people are talking about Nice and stuff like that. They have struggled over the last few years, but they're doing really well this year. So
Nice are 4th in League at the minute, and have conceded less goals in the league than any other team. They've been miserly this season. Hopefully, we can tap into that, because obviously the boy Jean-Claire Todibo is their centre-back, and he's a guy we looked at last summer and couldn't get the deal done because of financial fair play and stuff like that. Now, apparently, there's going to be money made available for January for targets and stuff, and there's a possibility that a couple of lads will be leaving the building. So we'll have to wait and see how that unravels,
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be certainly keeping a close eye on that Todibo transfer, that's for sure. As much as we'll be keeping an eye on the Ruben Neves one. Let's just say that. Bournemouth versus Newcastle.
Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Gotta say, saw the highlights of Newcastle the other night in Dortmund. They just looked wrecked. Now, let's go through it, right? They've just knocked us out of Carabao in Old Trafford. They've just beaten Arsenal at home. They're at the minute going on 3 fronts, and they are losing players rapidly with injuries and stuff like that. They just looked out on their feet. If I feel like that and I've just come back from Dortmund, do I want to go to Bournemouth where I know it's going to be more of the same? Probably not. And I could absolutely see Newcastle dropping points here. I could see it. I don't necessarily think it happens, but I could certainly see it, because, we know Bournemouth's not a very easy place to go. I think the only thing that helps Newcastle is Newcastle are quite good at the back, and they could just nick this. I'm going to go Newcastle 1-0, but I wouldn't be surprised with anything, if Bournemouth got something out of it.
Interesting. Henry's in. I have my 1-year anniversary of my YouTube channel on the 30th of December, big party at 9 p.m. I like that, Henry. Considering, Henry, the amount of conversations we had where you were considering binning it, fair play to you, and I'm glad you stuck with it. Great stuff. Keep it going. Hi, Dazzler.
Hey, Henry, how are you, pal?
Daz is going for a Newcastle 2-0 win. Yeah, I think that game will be tighter than what people think.
I think it'll be tight, just because Bournemouth are going to be fresh and Newcastle are out on their absolute feet,
Yeah, Coyle's in. Big up, Coyle. Good to see you there, my friend. Big up,
Coyle.
Gents. United and Arsenal are years away from where the standard should be. It's disgusting stuff. Hag and Arteta need to F off. The Eddie Howe derby, Bournemouth versus Newcastle. Absolutely. Congratulations, Henry, you legend. Aston Villa versus Fulham.
Listen, Villa were as bad as we could have imagined they were going to be last weekend. I watched all of the Villa game, and I have to say, I actually I put it on here in the back room, and Rosanna was here, and I kind of said, "Oh, this will be a good game. He'll enjoy this, because I expected it to be a few goals. I said, this could be 3-2. There could be something in this, And we watched, obviously, and Forest were just really at it from the word go. Didn't let Villa settle at all. Their press was unbelievable. Nicked the ball so many times. Were unlucky not to score, and eventually did and stuff like that. I thought they played very, very well, Forest. I think that's the kind of performance that's going to keep Forest in the league, but that needs to happen a little more frequently in the City ground. I think Villa are going to obviously turn to this week and think we need to get the show back on the road here. We need to get back scoring, which they tend to do at Villa Park. And I think this is Villa. I think this is Villa 3-0.
Yeah, Fulham. I watched the Fulham game against Hughes, and they looked at odds there. I say. I think they have the ability. There is players in there that on the occasion can rock up, perform, and you will see Fulham get a result. But I think more than likely, more often than not, they'll struggle a little bit, and I think they're going to struggle eventually to keep the boy Palhinha there as well. He'll want out.
Oh well, listen, that's I think that was the worst kept secret. Obviously in the summer when Bayern were trying to get the deal done, but yeah, they may come back in January. If they don't come back in January, I don't believe he'll last past the summer. But I think Fulham, are badly in need of a striker or two. Really, really blunt, and obviously losing the boy Mitrovic was one thing, but I just thought we did say this at the start of the season. The boy Jimenez was never, ever, ever gonna fill Mitrovic's shoes. Head off to Club America in Mexico or head off to the LA Galaxy or somewhere like that. He's not a Premier League player anymore. He hasn't been since the injury, and I don't like saying it, but he's been miles off where he was before that. And I personally would take myself out of the situation and go and enjoy my life, make life a bit easier for myself and stuff like that, and my family,
Yeah, it's an interesting one as well. I did read there today the boy Andre from South America that we were heavily linked with. Apparently, Fulham are in the lead to sign him, so maybe they're already planning for life post Palhinha at the moment. So
possibly, and if that's the case, it's good recruitment,
It's tidy business as well, because I think he's available for about 25 to 30 million as well.
And I mean, the likelihood he's going to go for 50 or 60.
At least, I would say. Yeah, Morrison, Villa and Brighton's inconsistency has been surprising. It has, and I think, do you know what a lot of it is, Morris? I think expectation has raised on the back of last season. And I think that's been a bit of it as well. That coupled with as well the fact that, obviously, I mean, a lot of really quality players have exited the building as well.
No. Do you not know what happened?
What?
I can tell you all this. And I play this violin all the time, so you'll know this tune. Villa and Brighton are playing Thursday night football, and it saps the fucking life out of you. It saps the life out of you. I spoke to you obviously last night about this and about United. That personally speaking, if United don't finish in the top 2 in the Champions League group, which at the minute's looking highly unlikely, I would 120% prefer to finish fourth, not end up in that Europa League, Europa Conference shy, getting dragged all across Europe, then having to play our games a day later and play catch up against teams who are fresh and have been training all week for something. That competition is a killer for teams. Look at anyone in that right now. Look at Newcastle. Look at West Ham. Look at Brighton, and look at Aston Villa. The life is being sapped out of them by Thursday night football. And I say this every fucking year.
Yeah, it's a weird one as well, though, because if you look at some of their inconsistencies, and maybe it's a kind of the hangover effect as well, some of their inconsistencies haven't necessarily come on the back of European weeks as well. So, but yeah, I get your point. Definitely. I mean, they're not built for that kind of momentum.
No.
You look at West Ham last year when they pushed the boat out to go and win the trophy.
Almost got relegated.
Look at their league. Yeah, last few games they saved themselves, But yeah, absolutely. Warren Stephen Kenny is going upstairs for directors role in the FAI. I would imagine so.
Wage increases.
Big up, Joe. Any Shelby updates? Any of last year's bet updates? He's still on you. He's still on you. He's not letting this go.
Sure
But I
is,
haven't
isn't
forgotten
he?
everyone else who was supporting me on my channel. Absolutely, Henry. Henry, don't pay attention to anyone. Just keep on rocking and doing what you're doing. It's obviously working. Your subs are growing. Your views are growing. So don't worry about it. What's the crack, Warren? Where are we? Brighton versus Sheffield United.
Yeah, just on that. Henry, I'm a little bit like Marmite. You kind of either love me or hate me. But the more people hate me, the more I get in their face and the more I fucking annoys them. So keep it up, pal. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brighton and Sheffield United. I got to be honest. I think this will be a game. I think Sheffield United will be on the front foot after the victory last week against Wolves. They've obviously had all week to prepare. Brighton have had to go to Ajax tonight. Got a great win. Puts them top of the group, I think. But again, not easy. Sheffield United to be well rested here. Their energy levels will be through the roof. Brighton's won't be. They picked up another couple of injuries, I think, this evening as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Sheffield United get something out of this. And if we remember a couple of weeks ago, Sheffield United went and put it up to Arsenal, if I'm right, until the end of that game. Remember they went a goal up? Am I forgetting this here, or? Gonna have to look back here. Oh no, 5-0. Hang on. But it was the goals came late in the game. That's right. The goals came late. They put up some good performance. I think they did the same against City maybe, and then all of a sudden, got nicked off at the end. I think Sheffield United get something out of this. I'm gonna go 1-1.
Yeah, Coyle is in. Gentlemen, no excuse about playing on a Thursday night. These guys are multi-millionaires. Surely they can play 2 games a week. What about us folks working 12 hours a day, 5 days a week for pennies? Yeah, I suppose the only difference is you can go in and have a bad day on a Thursday and still come in on a Friday, and you don't have 80,000 people screaming at you and a whole millions of people on social media and everything else tearing into you.
But also,
and it's the mental energy as well.
A lot of our jobs don't necessarily entail a physical side. And what I mean by a physical side, we might be doing steps, and we might be lifting boxes or pushing trolleys, whatever we might be doing, right? You're in direct competition with somebody in a game of football. And if man for man, the other team outworks you, they're going to beat you generally. And that's the thing. That's the problem, And when you come back, like, there's Brighton now. I would say it's unlikely Brighton are going to come home tonight. Yeah. Because I know it's only an hour flight, but by the time they get out of there and stuff like that, I would say it's unlikely. If they come back tonight, it means they have a late start tomorrow. Tomorrow's also only going to be a cool down session on your Friday, which means for Saturday, you're only doing set pieces and close quarter stuff.
Tactics.
Right? So you've Sheffield United have been at this all week looking at Brighton. They watched the game tonight to see what else they could get out of it and wring out of it. Thursday night football makes this league way more difficult. Way more difficult.
Absolutely.
1-1.
Liverpool, Brentford?
No. That was Brighton and Sheffield United.
Oh, sorry, you're going with the draw. Are you 1-1?
Going with the draw. Yeah, and that's going to surprise a few people, but I'm going with the draw.
And the thing about it is, if you look at how haphazard it's been at times, you wouldn't even be surprised if Sheffield United actually snuck a win. Could easily happen.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Liverpool, Brentford?
Yeah, I think this will be Liverpool getting the show back on the road a little bit after last week's dropping 2 points away at Luton, I suppose the thing with Liverpool again is, for me, like quite a number of teams in this league, there's an awful lot of wasted chances, isn't there? There's very few teams in the league who you would describe as clinical.
Yeah, and the worst thing about it is a lot of the chances, they're not getting a whole lot on target. I was looking tonight, I think they had 4 on target out of 19 or something like that. It's not good, like, you know what I mean? You're not going to score if you don't hit the target,
You're absolutely not going to. But the other thing I would say is, I still think they're a team with goals in them. I don't necessarily, like, if I look at Liverpool, they're a team with goals in them. If I look at United, they're not a team with goals in them. Liverpool are going to outscore United, 8, 9 times out of 10.
Mm.
And although you're not the Liverpool you were at the back, that solidity's not there. You're still going to score enough against the likes of Brentford to make sure you pick up enough points to keep things looking rosy in the garden. But I still think, he'll, even now, I think Klopp is probably looking towards next summer to say, we still need changes here. We still need to make additions to this squad if we're going to challenge the way we want to challenge. And that's not to say they're out of a race yet. That's not to say they're in a race yet. That's just the way, elite football teams work,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, that was really poor tonight. Now, like, tonight was worse than Luton, to be honest. It was really, really
but
poor.
am I right in saying, and again, I don't know this because I didn't see it, he made quite a number of changes. Am I right?
Yeah, but he also brought on a lot of the big boys at half time.
So,
and Toulouse had a couple of goals disallowed.
Fairness now, with the front six, he'd enough there to get a win. Gakpo, Diaz, McAllister, Endo, Elliott, and Doak.
All played tonight. The whole team tonight played as
And then at half time, he brought on Salah, Arnold, and Szoboszlai. And then he brought on Nunez and Jota. So, yeah, listen, there was enough on the pitch.
So once those boys came on, it wasn't a million miles away from the first team. Let's be honest, there wasn't much in it. I wouldn't be pinning a whole lot of it on Quavine, in fairness, So that Alisson will go back in there. Van Dijk might be fit to go back in. Gravenberch might be fit to go back in, and but there's not a huge amount of changes. McAllister was on there, Nunez was there, Salah was there, Jota was there, Diaz was there. Dominic was there.
I did like. Who did Liverpool play last weekend? Luton. I did like some of what I saw from Gravenberch. I did like it. I kind of thought to myself, doesn't look like he's not necessarily fully fit, but still looks like he's finding his feet. But I kind of thought there was enough there for me to be excited if I'm a Liverpool fan and say, this kid could be very, very tidy for us.
Yeah, he's one of few that kind of put in somewhat of a performance last weekend. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like, again, and I said it about Dominic before in the past as well, I like his mentality of when he receives the ball in tight spaces and how he opens himself up and creates that couple of yards that you need to create and make something happen and stuff like that. I've been very impressed with him and all that. I mean, obviously it hasn't been an easy transition for him as well. He's getting a lot of heat off the Dutch national side, and especially a man Koeman, who's poison, I think. You know what I mean? It's poor form, really.
Koeman's not I don't think Koeman's a nice guy from what I've heard about him over the years and how he treats people and stuff like that. I think his biggest issue is tactically and technically he knows exactly what to do, but players don't want to play for him. And that ultimately leads to the fact that he ends up losing jobs that he's well capable of doing, but guys don't want to turn up on him on the pitch for him. So that's a sad indictment, really.
What are you going here, Liverpool, Brentford?
You can go 3-1. 3-1 Liverpool.
No bother. Eno's in there. How are you?
Look at here. Who do we have here, huh?
Look at who just rocked up. Hello, friends.
Our old pal Dynamo, huh?
West Ham versus Notts Forest.
Good to have you, buddy. West Ham versus Notts Forest. Yeah, again, I look at this after last weekend. Obviously, West Ham lost away at Brentford. Forest picked up a great win at home against Villa. West Ham tonight, putting in a performance, but again, sapping the life out of themselves on a Thursday night. I'm just going to click in here to look at the team. Fabianski, Kufal, Mavropanos, Agard, Emerson, Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, Kudos, Paqueta, Benrahma, Bowen. It's a lot of guys who are going to play on Sunday. They're putting 95 minutes and they're 1-0 up against Olympiacos. Forest are going to be as fresh as a daisy. We know Elanga, Awonyi, Gibbs, White, and the boy Dominguez on the opposite side are going to hassle and harry the daylights out of West Ham. And I would not be shocked to see Forest get something out of this. I really wouldn't be shocked. I thought they were very, very good last weekend. And I think it'll be a huge confident lift for Steve Cooper and that team. So yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Forest.
Interesting.
That's
And they
that's
haven't.
two big shouts this weekend. I've gone Everton and Forest away 2-1.
It's a nice conundrum as well, because West Ham at home have been a little bit iffy, and Norris on the road haven't been very good compared to their home form. So
No.
it'll be interesting to see which way it goes this weekend. But yeah, great show. Chelsea versus Man City to round out into another international week. Just on Henry there, should Diaz have played tonight? I think he absolutely should have played. I think the situation with the dad, thank God, has all been resolved and he's been returned home safe. I think the distraction was needed. He played he came on Sunday against Luton and actually scored the equaliser. So why wouldn't he play?
Took the header really well, by the way, because he's not a big guy. He headed the ball really well. Great finish. And was unlucky towards the end not to grab a winner then, if I remember rightly.
Absolutely. And you have to remember as well, the information that comes out to us in the situation with his dad, he's way ahead of that situation in terms of what he knows is happening.
Absolutely. So, yeah. 100%. No, I think the best place for him was on the pitch, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Really did.
Just on that Warren's point, clubs playing on Thursdays don't play to Sunday, as opposed to those playing Wednesday playing on the Saturday. But you have to remember, Warren, as well, we've seen it with the Champions League as well, where teams on the Saturday have struggled. Sometimes you get a team playing on the Wednesday and they might be in the 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday evening.
Yeah, but also...
Or they might be in the 5:30 one, which throws them out of kilter as well.
And I also think there is a bigger difference, because I think, if you were playing golf and you were playing match play, sometimes people lay up short so they can put the ball on the green first and apply pressure. And I feel like there's an awful lot of pressure with that Thursday night slot, because you're not playing your game till the Sunday. Now, if 2 or 3 teams ahead of you in the league all win their games, mentally, you're in a different game. I think likewise, if they drop points, it can maybe give you something that you need to get that performance out of you. But I think the Sunday is difficult because of the pressure applied, having seen teams around you, above you and below you pick up points and maybe stretching open gaps.
Yeah, and also what I would say about the Champions League teams as well is most of those teams generally have experience of playing in Europe. Whereas if you look to the Thursday night, this is Brighton's first rodeo, if you think about it.
Bigger squads. Much bigger squads.
Even you look at West Ham, and I know they've done things in Europe in the past and stuff like that, but if you look at that West Ham team, last year, they went all the way and they picked up that trophy. But if you looked at the previous years and stuff like that, where, they were close the year before, they got it over the line last year. But prior to that, in and out of Europe. So you don't have that consistency.
And it is an experience thing as well, to build up that buffer zone. So this is what we do on a Wednesday. This is what we do on a Saturday. Whereas, again, Brighton, Villa and West Ham. Okay, West Ham won the conference last year. The other two, when's the last time either of them were in Europe?
Yeah, and you also look at West Ham as well. Last year, they had the experience and the ability to lean on a Declan Rice, who's now exited the building and gone to Arsenal. So
for 100 million,
somewhat can be a very different team that goes in there the following year. You look at Brighton. None of those Brighton players, in more or less, have had that experience of playing in Europe and stuff like that. So again, it's different. Whereas if you look at United in the Champions League, there's generally an experience and a history there to understand that. Man City are generally in there. Arsenal, I know in times have been in and out and stuff like that, but there's a mentality and an experience that has been there before, or in the Europa League, so you get used to it and stuff like that, whereas some teams don't. And generally, when they are successful in Europe, into that summer, they tend to lose some of the crown jewels that they don't want to lose, and it goes in kind of like a very fresh side. So, but great points. Del Boy and Stephen Kenny are clashing again at Knock Airport. Good Lord. You just imagine what's going on there. Good luck. And only in Knock Airport would have happened. West Ham 2, Forest 2. Chelsea, Man City, did you give it? Corvo, big up, man. Big up, my friend.
Corvo. I didn't give it yet. I think, obviously, Chelsea will be buoyed. CP.
Fax Morris.
Fuck the Spuds. I think, obviously, after a great win the other night, which probably none of us seen coming, let's be honest here. Pochettino heading back there and getting the result was huge for them. But I just think City's going to be another kettle of fish. I think obviously there's an expectancy level after you have a result like that against Spurs, and the fans maybe expect a little more. And as you always say to me, Niall, it's the hope that kills us. And I kind of feel like this might take I think this might knock the wind out of Chelsea's sail, because City are just a different animal completely, completely. I think I've got City in this one, 3-1.
Yeah, Man United playing Wednesday, Saturday, and won the treble. I agree with the boys. Now simply, these lads are millionaires in a privileged position. Absolutely. We nearly won the quadruple a couple of seasons ago as well. We played every single game we could. So, yeah, again, but it did. It caught up with us. It does catch up with you.
Of course it does.
Wednesday international break right after Sunday, isn't it?
Sunday. The game on Sunday evening, the Chelsea Man City game, is the last game before the international break.
And then I think we're back. When are we back? The 27th?
Well, that's 4:30 on the. Yeah. No, we're not back to 27. We're back before that.
It's normally 2 weeks, isn't it?
We're back to 25th. I knew we weren't back to 27 because the 27th is a Monday, because my birthday is the following day, which is the Tuesday, and I knew we weren't popping back up on a Monday, so it had to be the Saturday, so the 25th.
So what did you go, Chelsea, Man City?
3-1 City. Sorry,
Okay, interesting.
Oh, sorry. What I did say was ex-Man City player Cole Palmer to get the goal. I think he's been great. I think he's been awesome.
He has. He's been excellent.
Really think he's been very good, the kid, And
Anthony Taylor back at the bridge too. Demoted, had a shocker, and then promoted for the biggest game of the weekend. Chelsea 2-1.
I do like the idea, by the way, of Palmer backing himself. And saying, listen, if you don't have game time for me, I'm going to exit stage, because I think I want to get game time here. And fair play to him. I don't think it's going to be long before we see him maybe getting called up to that senior England squad, if the form continues the way it is.
Cole Palmer with the winning penalty in his reckon. We wouldn't be too upset, would we?
Absolutely no.
A couple of quick things before we get into the bets, and then we get straight into the bets. What's your view on this whole hate chant sort of stuff that's going around at the moment, tragedy stuff and all? And what would you think at the moment? We've seen it there, Luton again. I have a lot of respect for Luton Football Club. I loved even the other day, I mentioned in the match reaction, watching that game on that ground with those camera angles, kind of was a real throwback to like a proper FA Cup tie or something like that. It was really cool to experience it. But it was marred by a section of one of the stands spouting on. How do you reckon is the best way to deal with this, if you were looking out of the box and thinking about what way you would deal with it?
I think it's very difficult, because I think it's always going to be a very small minority, and that's the issue. And I don't necessarily think what should happen does happen, and this will divide opinion as well. For me, I believe, if I'm at Old Trafford and I hear somebody singing about one of those tragedies, I have an issue with it. I have an issue personally, as a football fan, and maybe I say it to one of my own fans. I think at times, when you've obviously got this kind of pack mentality in football grounds, and guys can get lagered up to the gills and feel like they're bulletproof and stuff like that. I don't think it's a great setting, if I'm honest, at times. I personally, thinking outside the box, I'd ban alcohol, but we'd have a lot of unhappy people then at football matches. I don't think you need to have a point to go to a football match. I think when people have 2, 3, 4 points, they start to push the envelope a little bit further than it needs to be pushed. And I think that's when we get stuff like this. I don't necessarily believe any of this gets called out when people are stone cold sober, for me.
Yeah, it's hard to know, really, isn't it? Because once you have a big collection of people there or a group setting, you're always going to get one or two bad eggs in it anyway,
Always.
regardless of drink.
Yeah.
But I did say the other day on the match reaction, I said the onus is really on the club and the fans around that situation to sort that out, really. And the point that I
didn't
made,
hear you, but
yeah,
that's basically
and
what I've said.
and what I said on the match reaction was, if I was in a stand with Liverpool fans and I was at a United game,
Yeah.
or they were at our game, and someone started spouting on about Munich, I'd be having words with them straight away. I'd be saying, quit that right away.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And I'll tell you why. And it's not just because of, it's not obviously just because of the moral issue about chanting about something like that. I don't want that associated with my club. I don't want my club's name to be dragged through the dirt by 5 or 10 or 20 people in the corner of a stadium for this to be headline news on a Monday morning. We don't need that. We absolutely don't need that. And I do think it has to come from the fans of the team who are doing it. As I said to you.
Yeah,
but it's difficult when you get 5 or 10 lads with a load of gargle in them and somebody doesn't want to approach because all of a sudden you open your mouth and you've a brawl and then it's,
Yeah, it was
maybe that's what it's going to take.
See, the thing about it the other day, it was so prevalent the other day to the point where Carragher mentioned it on commentary. He had to raise it on commentary. And I think when it gets to that point as well, I think then the Premier League or the FA or whoever has to get involved in this has to get involved and sit down with the club and say, look, it's very simple. This is what we want you to put out to your members. If you're going to keep this up, you're going to start playing games behind closed doors. And if that doesn't work, we're going to start docking your points and all this kind of thing. We need to get, because look at what a disease it is in the Italian league. It's horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, not even on a tragedy level, even on a racist level, it's
absolutely
horrific.
The first thing that should happen is behind closed doors. The second thing is they should have to give up home advantage. And then if it's not taken out, then you look at points deduction, because I don't also like the idea that the team are punished from something that goes on the terraces. But you could certainly make them behind closed doors games, and you could absolutely take home advantage away and put them into a neutral venue. Put them into one of the championship grounds that aren't a home ground that weekend. So if Birmingham were away and it was Luton, send them up to Birmingham to play their game as home fans.
Yeah, I just think even if the problem you have is, even if you send them away and you have a certain subset of fans in there, and potentially it can happen. And I'm not saying that the diehard fans who travel up and down the country watching games, stuff like that, more than likely are probably not the people potentially doing it. But we've seen it with City and Liverpool, where it's happened at Anfield as well. So you can get a subset of it.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say it really quietly. I'm not gonna shout. Has anyone ever been to Luton?
Just the airport.
I have. It's a fucking cesspool of degenerates. There's huge poverty, and there's huge issues with education. And the likelihood will be, and look, there's Henry's just written it as it's coming out of my mouth. Education is key to this. The same with racism. But I have to be honest, Luton is a fucking shithole. I wouldn't walk me dog in it. So, I said that really quietly.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the story with you? Missed you, fella. There you go. Luton is not the best spot, to be fair.
It's a fucking hovel.
I just thought I'd bring it up to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, the England squad was released today, and this man again, James Ward-Prowse, left out 14 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, no England call up. And when you look down through the midfielders on the list,
well, we'll skip through it quickly. So, I don't have a huge problem with the goalkeepers other than Pope not being there. I think Caldwell, Dunk, Gahey, Maguire, Tomori, Trippier, Walker, I don't really have a problem with any of them. Even Maguire, the way he's playing. Personally speaking, And if I'm an England fan, I want to see Tomori and Gahey though. I want to see those two young, athletic centre-backs. Because if England are going to win a major competition, they're not going to win it with Lewis Dunk or Harry Maguire as part of their back four. They're very limited as to what they can do. Whereas I think if you look at Colwell, he's been excellent at Chelsea. Gahey, Tomori, all good, young, athletic defenders, read the game well. So if I'm Southgate, I'm going that way. I think in the midfield, like when I look at the midfield, it's just a head scratcher. Like it's just a head scratcher. Alexander-Arnold obviously being lumped into the midfield.
It's contrived.
Yeah, it's right. Bellingham obviously speaks for himself. I think Conor Gallagher's been very good. And I've read a couple of stats about Gallagher. Apparently, he's had more interceptions in the last third of the pitch than any other player in Europe. I think with 18, which is huge. So I'll tell you how good his press is and how he likes to get on the front foot and stuff. No problem with that. And obviously, Rice, no problem with that. How Jordan Henderson and Calvin Phillips are in that squad is fucking beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. Joanne throwing in. It's a hovel. Henderson and Calvin Phillips is just such a bluff, man. Such a bluff. And obviously, you've got the picture up there, James Ward-Prowse, to name but one. Yeah. You know, and we know, there's more than one.
There's one from Corvo.
I know, yeah. Well, Pope, I spoke about Pope, obviously, but like, I mean, Everett Eze, I know he's only coming back from the injury. Like, he'd play Calvin Phillips and fucking Henderson off the park. God bless the kid. And then again, in what's up front, like, that's a phenomenal array of talent to be able to choose from. Really is.
I had a theory about Henderson today.
Right.
Let me know your thoughts on it.
He has pictures of Southgate's daughter doing something.
No, not at all. I'm thinking, is there an input there from the Saudi Pro League to want to keep the light a little bit shining on it still or something like that? Because it is a kind of a strange one. Now, I know probably you want to have somewhat of experience in there, and if you look at that midfield, you know, your experience in there is basically Henderson in terms of...
The one thing I would say is he made the same decision when Henderson was at Liverpool. There was times at Liverpool when Henderson wasn't playing well and he was still getting the call. So,
well, we've countless examples of that right down through this whole list.
There is a favouritism there.
Well, we could put together a starting 11 out of this list here right now of players that don't really play at the moment.
Yeah, there's Henderson's always been one of his golden boys, so you know he's sticking with it. He's sticking with it. Ramsdale's place could be in jeopardy. Could be. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Could be.
Is he? I still think he's going to get out of town in January. I really have a feeling about it. I know you're thinking possibly not and stuff like that, but
he'll stay till the summer, and the only reason he'll stay till the summer is the deal will be too big to do in January because he won't want to leave. You know, on loan.
Southgate English Arteta. Absolutely. Although I will say with Arteta, you know, yesterday's prize doesn't always necessarily be today's prize. He can cut guys loose pretty quick as well, very unexpectedly as well at times. Very, very strange. Henderson now shouldn't be included. And now to Calvin either. Yeah, absolutely. And we've been linked with Calvin Phillips as well. I don't know what sort of bananas that is. That's absolute crazy. I'll replace Hendo with Longstaff.
Absolutely. In a heartbeat. Corvo being one of the top midfielders in the league this season.
Absolutely.
His work rate, his endeavour, getting Newcastle on the front foot has been phenomenal this season. I'd second that, Corvo.
Niall loves Saudi conspiracies, I do. Listen, I was chatting with one of the lads. I was chatting with John Sinclair on Twitter today. He was talking about Ruben Neves and all. And I said, come on, don't be smiling through that situation there. We know what that's all about. I described it actually as when you're going out on a date with a girl that you first met and you ask your dad for a lend of the BMW because you don't want to go out in the Ford Fiesta. Well, we know how these things work. We sure do. If he didn't have his favourites, England could have a major trophy by now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd agree with that. Have to be honest. Yeah.
What a pool of players he has to pick from.
Look at the front. Look at the forwards. Bowen, Foden, Grealish, Kane, Maddison, Rashford, Saka, Watkins, Wilson. That is next level. Like, show me an international team, and I'm talking to anyone who has that. Yes, France have a plethora of talented players. I don't think France have that though for depth and quality in depth. You know, I really got to be honest.
Just kidding. Absolutely.
You're not Ian. We know Niall likes a conspiracy.
Absolutely.
We know that.
Warren, most overrated squad in history. No,
really?
when you see them play at club level, like you look at Jude Bellingham in there, Declan Rice. You know, there's some really good stuff in there. As
and
you
let's
said,
not forget, you're missing Reece James and Luke Shaw from the back four there.
Yeah.
Who are probably and Ben Chilwell as well.
And look at who else is in there. You've Trippier, you've Kyle Walker. These are all playing at a very high level at the moment.
Very high level.
You know, look at what Kane is doing in Germany. Unbelievable, tearing up the Bundesliga at the moment.
Saka on the right hand side.
James Maddison on Spurs. I think there's a number of players that, as you said, Eze could be in there.
Jude Bellingham, is he not the best player on the planet right now?
He was, and I thought he went off. Did he not go off with a shoulder injury the other day? He must be all right by the sounds of things. But I thought he went off for Real Madrid, didn't he? Holding his shoulder the other day like Robbo. So I'm not. He's obviously all right. I would have Anthony Gordon in the squad.
I think our problem is Corvo, and as good as he's been, and let's not forget, I am an Anthony Gordon fan, and I took a lot of heat last season when I said he was worth the money. But he is proving me right. Thank you, Anthony Gordon, for that one. I think he's still at 21's level based on what's ahead of him. And that's all. Like, if you put him into that forward lineup, he doesn't get enough game time. Whereas if you keep him in the 21s, he keeps developing and playing games, maybe at a major tournament level. Because I kind of feel the same about like a Gibbs White and stuff like that as well. Do you know? You keep them in there, keep them playing games and keep them improving. But I don't think he'll be miles away.
His time is definitely coming. His time is definitely
100%.
Coming. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and listen, we haven't even mentioned, look, Ivan Toney and all who has due to come back and stuff like that. You know, there's definitely some serious there. Unsolved mysteries, the Saudi conspiracy. Yeah, we'll do a show on it. Irishman Rice is solid too. Warren Bellingham is fire. Yeah, absolutely.
Next level.
Yeah, absolutely. What else did I want to ask you about? Ten Hag has been instilled as the favourite for the next manager to be sacked. I know you gave us your thoughts on it there earlier. Some of the results have not been great for various different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, the Luton game again, on the back of the Fulham game and coming through that and getting the points, then you have the Copenhagen thing, and then, you know, Luton then ratchets up the pressure then again, obviously.
Listen, I think we beat Luton. I think we go into the international break. I think we get the announcement. We have obviously Bobby Charlton's funeral on Monday. We get through the funeral. I think we get to the announcement on Wednesday, and then I think it's down to Radcliffe and Brailsford to set the scene a little bit for Ten Hag, and take a lot of the heat out of the situation, you know, and provide them with the tools necessary to further United in their pursuit of whatever, be it, you know, top 5 this season, if it's that we're looking for, things like that, you know.
Yeah. Corvo, I have a bit of sympathy for Ten Hag. He's managing divas.
I don't think he's the only one in the league managing a number of divas, but I think it's I think there just seems to be so much unease at United behind the scenes. I think it's a recipe for disaster from there, you know.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, Martial. Everything away after the international break for United,
which is very tough. We've a shocking record at Goodison Park.
Yeah, absolutely. I was there as well, Kyle. Luton Airport. My God.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't even fly in a plane going into Luton Airport. Never mind fucking, you know, no way.
Every major tournament since '66, we have had this nonsense. And what have they won? England fans are the most arrogant. Yeah, I think it's for different reasons.
They don't do
like
themselves any favours, but it's not necessarily the England fans. It's the English media. We know the problem, and the hype they put around the team and stuff like this, and like the fact you're still talking about 66 applies a certain amount of pressure, because the same way Liverpool had to wait so many years and United had to wait so many years, that all builds and that gets in people's head until finally the bubbles burst. I wouldn't be surprised if England won, a European Championships, to see them go on and win a World Cup then. And it can happen like that because they now know and they have the confidence within themselves that they can carry this off. They're not bad footballers, but they absolutely need to get rid of the media vibe around that national team, because it's toxic at times.
And I have to say, I mean, if you remember that final they got to, they should have beaten Italy. That was just stupidity from Gareth Southgate. They should have beaten Italy. There's no doubt.
Well, they had the tools to beat Italy.
Yeah,
by a couple of goals, but they didn't use them in the manner that they were made for. That's the problem.
His own stubbornness and stuff like that.
It was 100% on Southgate for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we really pulling out of the Andre deal to stick Bujetic instead? I think the concern is the blocking of his path and his development and stuff like that. But I don't think we're out of it yet. You know yourself, Liverpool, sometimes when people start leaking information and getting connected with something like that, we tend to say things like this to dampen it down and stuff like that. Last I read, he was heavily linked with Fulham, which wouldn't surprise me. If they're going to cash in on Palhinha, it would make sense. But we'll see what happens. But certainly he's a guy. We've sent scouts over. We've done a lot of groundwork. We've agreed personal terms. We've done all that. That doesn't sound like we would do that level of work if we weren't interested. So let's see what happens. Corvo, Guzman Park, our tiny stadium last season. Absolutely. Morris wants the Man United managerial position. Good money at it. Then Galatasaray on Tuesday for United. Welcome to hell. Yeah, but you never know. With an international break, you can have a reset to have that time to work with certain players and stuff like that. No, Luton, the home of the EDL, tells you all you need to know. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Do you want to give us your bets? Let's do beat the bookie. Anyone having a flutter this weekend?
We've got a Galatasaray on the Wednesday, not the Tuesday.
That's right. It's the Wednesday.
It's the Wednesday because, as I said, the Tuesday is my birthday, and I knew there was no game on the day of the birthday. So
yeah.
Right. What have we got here? Just going through my pictures. Right. I've three.
Luton makes North Korea look like Disneyland.
It does. Yeah, absolutely does, Corvo. Yeah. It's pretty rough. Right. We'll go low and we'll work our way through them. So starting with and listen, this is my banker. It's not great odds for what it entails. It's 8-1, but I've got 6 teams in an accumulator here.
I had the same struggle, so you're not on your own.
So I've gone Arsenal, obviously at home against Burnley. I've gone United home against Luton. I've gone Newcastle to just pick up the win against Bournemouth. I've gone Villa at home against Fulham, Liverpool home against Brentford, and City away against Chelsea. And all 6 victories gives me a miserly 8-1.
You never like it when I put those kind of bets out. That's a lot of there's a lot of gravy on that. Yeah, there sure is. My next one, I at least can double the odds. Okay. I at least can double the odds. And it's an anytime goal scorer bet. So we'll start off with a man who scored tonight. That man in claret and blue who see you, take it easy, Henry. That man in claret and blue who likes to score goals, our friend Ollie Watkins, home against Fulham. We have Mo at home against Brentford. We have Erling Haaland away against Chelsea. Wow.
And I'm rounding out with my own boy Rasmus Højlund at home against Luton.
You got 3 of my 4. Who
are you swapping Haaland for?
I went totally out of the box. I went with Wolves, I went with Brighton. Joe Pedro.
Okay.
Joe Pedro to give me some sort of, and the odds aren't even
great. You like 22s?
No, 17s or something, or 18s.
Yeah, I was 16s.
Yeah,
I was
it's not
16th.
much. Pedro's probably just milking it over Haaland, that's all. But
Absolutely.
even Pedro's 11 to 10 anytime. It's not great, like,
Yeah, and Haaland gives 10, and Haaland's 10 to 11. So
10
he's
to 11.
actually not bad money.
So that's the difference. That's the
Yeah,
difference there.
yeah,
Because I had Mo, I had Ollie Watkins, and I had Rasmus Højlund.
yeah.
Rasmus Højlund has to bang a few goals this weekend, doesn't he? Like
He's very good.
like
He's very good.
I said it to you lads in the chat today when the boys put up the Garnacho one. Those two boys must be so disappointed. Like they're trying,
Yeah, they are.
Højlund
But
just
you know
tries
what?
so hard. You know what I mean?
These two lads are going to be the future of our club. You know, Garnacho and Højlund are. These are what's coming down the road for us. But we need other pieces in the puzzle as well. The one thing I will say to you, and I spoke to you obviously off camera about this. When I go over to watch the games and stuff, I'm always looking to see who did I think was really, really good. And when I come back from the City game, there was very few positives. But the two positives for me were the boy Højlund was unbelievable. Like, just unbelievable. Everything he did. The way he decided to pull himself onto Diaz, and I was like, this is a fucking really bad idea. This boy Diaz is super. Pulled onto him, he's bossing him about the place, he's backing into him, he's winning headers, and I'm like, what is this? It was phenomenal. And the other thing was, and we'd spoken about it, was, we talked obviously about David De Gea possibly coming back into the fold at United, and we mentioned maybe he wasn't too enamoured by the keeper, the Turkish lad Bayinder. And I told you, he warmed up in the goal in front of me. Now he's probably 5 yards away. If I really stretch, I can probably grab his jersey. And he was fucking unbelievable. He was unbelievable to the point I was like, somebody tell me why this kid hasn't played a game. I'm a goalkeeper. Andrew's with me. He's another goalkeeper. And the two of us are mesmerised watching this guy. And I'm like, the other boy has dropped so many clangers, and this kid is being kept on the leash. Like, this was shocking for me. Absolutely shocking. Really was. They're the two lights I took out of it.
It's kind of, if anything, it's one of the faults of Ten Hag that we actually recognise both his selection at times and his in-game management.
Yes.
It's kind of where he falls down at times and stuff like that. If there's any criticism to be level him.
My last
bet. The international break is over, so we can get GTA 6 trailer, lads.
my last bet. We went from 8s to 16s. And now we're going from 16s all the way to 60 to 1. And 60 to 1.
This will be controversial. There has to be something in there at 60 to 1.
I don't think it's massively controversial. City and both teams to score.
Yeah.
It's no biggie. Villa and both teams to score against Fulham.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there's anything controversial, it's this one. Everton about to score against Palace. Listen.
Interesting.
For 60 to 1.
Yeah, no, interesting. Because I did a treble. Just a treble of winners straight up, and it's 12 to 1. So I did actually, it's interesting you mentioned that. I did do Villa to beat Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
I did Crystal Palace to beat Everton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether Everton heading down to Selhurst Park will suit them. Not that the difference between that and Goodison. It's not necessarily.
Well, that was my theory on it, because
yeah, they could still feel a bit at home.
Suits Deutschball more than fucking Goodison does.
Absolutely. And I had the third one was Wolves to beat Tottenham. Wolves to cause an upset.
And what did you have that at?
It's 12 to 1 for the treble.
Yeah. So
not bad.
No, absolutely no.
I gave you the goal scorer one. Have you another one there, or are you done?
No, I did 3. Okay. That was my load for today.
Very good. And then the last one I did result in both the score. And this pays 61, just over nearly 62 to 1, basically. And again, it's probably not a stretch. You'll disagree with maybe some of it. I did Liverpool to beat Brentford and both teams to score. I did Palace to beat Everton and both teams to score. Although we did say it could be a little bit dire. And I did Wolves versus Tottenham and both teams to score. But then I'm not too sure whether
It's
Wolves
not a
has 2
stretch.
goals in them, That's the
You
only
see,
thing.
if this had been 2 weeks ago and the boy Neto had been on the pitch, I would have thought you're in for a spin. The fact is, without him last week, they struggled against Sheffield United.
Yeah.
So I don't imagine against Spurs, even with the injuries of the 2 centre-backs and Udogie, I don't think it gets any easier.
I think the only thing I was thinking with Spurs going there as well, and obviously the pressure that's on them at the moment to kind of bounce back before the international break, I was thinking they might play a bit more open. And I thought Wolves might be able to capitalise on the likes of Dyer in there or Højbjerg or this young lad, the 17-year-old that they might bring in, whatever it is. Like you could be also looking at Emerson Royale as well, potentially. So you're looking at a lot of changes.
I would say Emerson Royale playing is a cert. But I don't necessarily think, like, he had good games last year. He didn't have loads of them, but he's not like a fucking ringer completely. Do you know what I mean? We look at him the way we look at him now because obviously the boy Porro and Udogie have looked very, very good. Stop that, will you?
Burnley to wins 109-1. You're chasing that Dutch money now for your trip. That's what that is when you do bets.
He'd be chasing that Dutch gold if he keeps betting on fucking results like that.
Absolutely. Emerson, Dyer, the Chuckle brothers, the centre-back should be a laugh. Yeah, I thought if there was ever a week where Wolves might be able to get 2 goals, I thought this must be the week, because I was weighing up, obviously, Neto was a huge
your
loss
thing
for
for Neto's a massive loss. Your thing for Spurs, though, is if you play the game in a high enough area of the pitch, those boys aren't affected. With your Sons, with your Basumas, your Bentancurs, your Kulishevskis, your Madisons, your lads like that. That's play higher up, keep hold of the ball.
Yeah,
keep
no,
it
there's
ticking.
still a lot of talent there and stuff like that. No, there's no doubt about that. But
absolutely,
it'll be interesting. They had been leaning on Madison, so he's obviously a doubt. So we'll see. He might have come through the knock. Who knows? He would be huge for them if he played, obviously. But just a little bit of weakness maybe at the back I'd be concerned about. Udogie will be a massive miss for Spurs. Yeah, absolutely. He's been big for them, no doubt. Yeah, that's it. This is the way we'll be if it does happen. Our good friend Spade. Yeah, well, I suppose I'll be back on either Friday or Saturday with a preview for the Brentford game. Probably Sunday I'll drop a match reaction after the game as well for my sins, potentially. Monday we'll have Monday mashup with Mark. And then next week we will probably revert back to wrestling, will we? I'd imagine give you a bit of a break from the football.
We'd have to, wouldn't we? I couldn't do international football.
Well, the reason I'm saying it as well, the week that's in it as well, it's the anniversary on Monday, obviously, of Eddie Guerrero. So it's a big week for us. So I have an episode of Eddie Guerrero that we did on the Podman, myself and Ian. So that's going out on Monday. Then so what I'll probably do is I'll probably bump Pro Wrestling Weekly next week to the Thursday. And we'll do a wrestling show. So we can do might do like a Mount Rushmore of Survivor Series matches or something like that, something bit of fun and stuff like that. But we'll put it out there and let people know.
Do I need to go upstairs now and watch a bit of Survivor Series just to get myself into humour? I absolutely loved Survivor Series in the early days with the 5-on-5 elimination tag matches, and then the Survivor Series final match at the end and stuff. That was how it should have always stayed. That was phenomenal. And I then liked, I tell you what else I loved. Remember we used to have the strange bedfellows where we had like Razor Ramon and Ahmed Johnson teamed with Dean Douglas and fucking Yokozuna versus, that kind of thing. That was cool. I used to like that.
That's all right. There's no point, so we're just finished. I'm dropping on the pod if that's all right. Yeah, we're just finished. Oh, you mean the wrestling one probably next week? Yeah, sure. We'll get your views on it, but we'll do something related to Survivor Series, but we're definitely going to do something. We might do a Mount Rushmore of Eddie Guerrero's matches, because I did put out a short today as well. I don't know whether you've seen it. Today is the anniversary of his final match, the match he had against Mr. Kennedy, where he won, and he was supposed to go on to be one of the Survivor Series members on Team SmackDown. But unfortunately, he never made it to that.
I didn't even see some of the messages my wife sent me today. So, so I definitely didn't see any shorts.
Well, mine should be way above them.
Absolutely. You know it.
Survivor Series 2004 is my favourite. Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. Kane versus Shane Ambulance. Kane versus Shane Ambulance. Morris watches that at least 3 times a week. You know, Morris's son, his favourite,
Yes.
I think, is Kane. And nearly every
That's
day
right.
he watches that Kane versus Shane Ambulance match. He loves it. Unbelievable. And it's amazing
He
the
did.
things that the kids latch onto as well.
He
Isn't it?
did tell me Kane was his favourite, all right.
Yeah, but he watches that ambulance match. I think Morris has it on repeat at this stage. Dazzler, Survivor Series 2008 was good, and 92 was excellent.
Absolutely. There was some
Yeah.
we've had some really good Survivor Series.
Yeah, we'll have a real fun show on the back of what tends to be a very sad week for wrestling fans with Eddie Guerrero's passing and all. You know, it still hurts even after 18 years at this stage now. It's still tough to take. You know.
I think the problem is when you look at somebody and they leave the building at the later stage when you've got everything you could have got out of them, and when you look at someone like Eddie who still had so much left in the tank, and so much more to give as a wrestler and as a human being, you know.
Yeah, 2002 when Sean won the Elimination Chamber, what a moment! Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's it. So it's it's obviously a difficult one. So you'll get that show on Monday or Tuesday. We'll have Monday mashup with Mark as usual on the Monday to go through all the weekend's action and give our thoughts on another load of probably VAR rubbish as we continue on. But let's see what happens. As always, folks, really appreciate you in the chat as always on these Thursdays and Mondays and stuff like that. And we had a great wrestling show last night as well. If you haven't checked it out, Pro Wrestling Weekly, we were talking about Ric Flair and the Woo energy drink. We were talking about loads of great stuff. It's good fun. We did a review.
Has anyone seen it over here yet?
I don't know whether anyone's stocking it over here. I don't think. I haven't seen it anyway. So
you know who you could ask, don't you?
Who has it or who's getting it? Or
you could ask your pals on the bottom floor.
Oh, they might be getting it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I suppose I'm heading over to the Rumble, so I'll get it while I'm over there. Then you know, so it's not paddock. It's generally not something I drink. It's something I display because the cans look cool. The cans
they sure do. Yeah, they sure do.
I'm hoping by the time I get over there, they might have it in bottles as well. Because I found these.
They don't put energy drinks in bottles.
Well, the Prime is in bottles.
It's not an energy drink. It's for hydration. It's different.
That's
energy has to be in a can because you need to. It needs to be carbonated.
Yeah. Did you read the write up on it?
No.
Apparently, it fixes your soul and everything. Apparently. It's Ric Flair in a can, apparently. There you go. So, what I was thinking, if MJF is going to be going into a storyline with him, he should drink one of the cans and then come out onto the stage in the wig and the robe and do it like Jay Lethal. Go on a Madden. Remember Jay Lethal went to Madden TNA?
Macho Man. Yeah. Really good, yeah. Pretty good.
Great show. Yeah, absolutely, folks. As always, have a safe weekend, whatever you're getting up to, and enjoy it. We will catch you again on Monday. I'll be back with the Liverpool stuff over the weekend. And next week, it'll be wrestling to beat the band, no doubt about it. Until next time, folks, stay safe and we'll talk to you real soon.